In the heart of Ouagadougou, a thunderous announcement shook the world. President Ibrahim Traoré declared that Burkina Faso would officially form a new strategic alliance with Russia and China. The news spread like wildfire across Africa, Europe, and the United States. Within hours, international media outlets were scrambling to analyze what this bold move meant for the global balance of power. For decades, Africa had been treated as a pawn in the chess game of world politics. Western powers exploited its gold, oil, and uranium while keeping the people poor and dependent. But now a young soldier-turned-leader was daring to break that cycle. Traoré's message was clear. Africa would no longer kneel to the West. Instead, it would rise with new partners on its own terms. The announcement did not come out of nowhere. For months, quiet meetings had been held between African leaders, Russian envoys, and Chinese diplomats. The discussion centered around one core question: how can Africa protect its resources and chart its own independent future? The answer was an alliance that the West never saw coming. The first shockwaves were felt in Washington. U.S. officials immediately held emergency meetings, warning that Russia and China were using Africa as a battlefield in their rivalry with the West. But in Ouagadougou, Traoré spoke with confidence. Standing before thousands of cheering supporters, he declared, "Burkina Faso will not be anyone's colony again. We will choose our partners, and we will choose our destiny behind him." The flags of Russia and China fluttered alongside the Burkinabe tricolor. It was a powerful image that told the world a new chapter of history was being written. Reports soon confirmed that the alliance included not only military cooperation, but also massive economic projects. Russia pledged advanced security systems and military training. China offered billions of dollars in infrastructure investments, from railroads to digital technology. For the first time, Africa was being treated not as a charity case, but as an equal partner. The Western media quickly went into panic mode. Headlines screamed about a new Cold War in Africa. Analysts warned that Europe's energy security could collapse if Africa shifted its trade toward Moscow and Beijing. In Paris, French officials admitted privately that their influence in West Africa was crumbling faster than anyone expected. Once seen as an unshakable empire, France was now losing its last strongholds in the Sahel. But inside Burkina Faso, the atmosphere was electric. Ordinary citizens filled the streets with celebrations. In Ouagadougou's central square, murals of Traoré appeared overnight, painted with slogans like "Africa is rising" and "Our destiny is ours." For many, it was the first time they had felt genuine hope in generations. Hope that their resources would no longer be stolen. Hope that their future would not be dictated by Paris, Brussels, or Washington. Of course, not everyone was happy. Western corporations that had long dominated Burkina Faso's gold and cotton industries began to panic. Leaked documents revealed that lobbyists in Washington were pushing for sanctions, while European banks considered freezing financial aid. But Traoré was ready for that. His government announced a new currency project with backing from Russia and China, designed to free Africa from the financial chains of the West. The reaction across Africa was immediate. Leaders in Mali, Niger, and Guinea expressed strong support. Even beyond the Sahel, countries like South Africa and Ethiopia watched closely, seeing in Traoré a model of courage and independence. For the first time, there was talk of a continental shift, a Pan-African alliance that could redefine the global order. And in the middle of it all stood a 35-year-old captain wearing his military beret, speaking not only for Burkina Faso, but for an entire continent. His words echoed across Africa. "We will rise together. We will no longer ask for permission. We are the masters of our land, and we are the guardians of Africa's future." This was more than a political alliance. It was a declaration of independence, a symbolic break from centuries of domination. Whether the West liked it or not, Africa had chosen a new path, and the world would never be the same again. As the dust of Traoré's announcement settled, the West moved quickly to respond. In Washington, senators spoke of a dangerous realignment that threatened U.S. influence in Africa. In Brussels, European Union leaders drafted new measures to limit trade with Burkina Faso, while NATO strategists debated how far Russia's military involvement might go. Panic was spreading, not only in political chambers, but in financial markets across the globe. Gold prices surged overnight. Oil traders feared that West African supplies might be redirected toward Moscow and Beijing, cutting off Europe's already fragile energy lifeline. Analysts at major banks admitted that if Africa shifted even a fraction of its resources eastward, Western economies would feel the shock. Suddenly, a nation long dismissed as poor and powerless had the world's attention. In Ouagadougou, Traoré addressed his people once again. "We are not seeking war," he said firmly, "but we will defend our sovereignty with every breath. Our resources belong to us, and we will trade them on our own terms, not under the dictates of Paris or Washington." His speech was broadcast across Africa, inspiring young people from Dakar to Kinshasa. Social media exploded with hashtags like Africa Rises, Traore Challenge, and End Colonialism. But behind the celebrations lay serious challenges. Western sanctions loomed large. Aid agencies threatened to withdraw funding, while foreign investors began pulling out of Burkina Faso's markets. Critics warned that aligning with Russia and China could bring its own risks, from political dependency to economic exploitation. Yet Traoré remained confident. He pointed to China's new infrastructure projects already underway, building roads, hospitals, and digital networks. He reminded his people that Russia had provided security assistance when no Western power dared to help. At a secret meeting in Bamako, leaders from the Alliance of Sahel states gathered, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, joined by delegations from Guinea and Chad. They signed a historic declaration of unity, promising to defend one another against external threats. Sources revealed that Russia had pledged to supply advanced air defense systems, while China offered technology for a Pan-African digital currency. The plan was ambitious, but it symbolized something greater. Africa was beginning to act as one. Western media continued to portray Traoré as a reckless populist, a puppet of Moscow and Beijing. Yet on the ground in Africa, he was becoming a symbol of resistance, a figure compared to Thomas Sankara and Kwame Nkrumah. Young Africans began to wear T-shirts with his image, chanting his words in protests against corruption and foreign interference. In universities across the continent, students debated whether Africa's future lay in the West's shadow or in a new multipolar world. The U.S. tried to strike back diplomatically. High-level envoys were sent to Nigeria, Ghana, and Senegal, urging them to distance themselves from Burkina Faso's alliance. France pushed for military intervention, whispering in NATO corridors that the Sahel was becoming a Russian base. But intervention proved impossible. The spirit of Pan-Africanism was spreading too fast. Even governments traditionally aligned with the West hesitated to condemn Traoré, fearing backlash from their own people. Meanwhile, Russian cargo planes landed quietly in Ouagadougou, bringing supplies, engineers, and advisors. Chinese companies broke ground on massive projects, a railway connecting the Sahel to coastal ports, solar energy farms to power villages, and fiber optic cables to bring Africa into the digital age. For the first time in history, Burkina Faso saw development not as a promise, but as a reality taking shape before its eyes. Yet Traoré knew the struggle was far from over. The West would not give up its influence so easily. Leaks from European intelligence revealed discussions about covert operations to destabilize the Burkinabe government. Washington insiders spoke of using economic warfare to break the alliance. But the young captain remained undeterred. In a fiery address, he declared, "Let them come with their threats. We are not afraid. Africa has awakened, and we will not return to sleep." As night fell on Ouagadougou, the city glowed with a new sense of purpose. Murals of Traoré stood alongside Russian and Chinese flags, while crowds gathered to sing songs of liberation. For the first time in living memory, Africans believed that history was shifting in their favor. Across the continent, millions were watching and waiting to see if this bold alliance could withstand the storm. One thing was certain: the world was witnessing a turning point. Burkina Faso, once overlooked, was now at the center of global geopolitics. And Ibrahim Traoré, with his beret and unshakable voice, had become the face of a new Africa, an Africa unafraid to challenge the old order, an Africa ready to take its place on the world stage.